if you work with your spouse, I've given you some of the juiciest stuff, no holds barred, that has really worked for us. And I think we've felt all the pain one can feel. We've experienced it, and, and we found ways through. And I dug deep into my soul about what was true and honest of a way out. And very short book. It's very consumable, but it just throws punches about how to approach this and how to solve these problems. So it's easy to consume, and this is the magic that helped us work really closely together and really enjoy working together successfully.
Welcome to the Lion's Den, hosted by Lance Bachman.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Den today. Bill Russell sitting in for the big cat while he's out, and I am super pumped and stoked today to have not just somebody that I consider a client, but more of somebody that I consider a colleague and a friend. That's we've known each other for about 4 years now, and that's Brad Casebier. Brad, welcome to the Den.
It's a pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, let's get right down to dirty. The reason that I asked you to be on the Den today is because you have a new book out. And when you think about the fact is that, we met 4 years ago and we were sitting at the Driscoll in Austin having dinner. And, I'm like, here's this quiet couple sitting next to me and Lance. And we know like what me and Lance are like when we get into a room. And, I was like, oh my gosh, those are the guys that are having the regional tomorrow. Well, let's talk to them. So we had a great conversation at dinner, and, it was an exciting time for where Radiant was at that moment. And so the next day you had all these different, home services companies from all over your region come down and do a lot of training at your facility so they could see what was going on. And I was sitting in the back of the room because all of the vendor partners were back there from Nexstar, and you had your computer up and we were kind of just chit-chatting. And on your computer, there was a Word document, and that Word document had the expletive book. And I said to you, are you writing a book? And you had said yes. So my first question is, what kind of, and the book is called The Survival Guide to Working with Your Spouse, Building a Business with Your Lover Without Losing Your Mind. And so what kind of motivated you to say, I'm going to write this book as you're running a multi-million-dollar company?
Yeah. To put it in perspective, I think we were shooting for 10 million that year. I think that was the goal at where our business was. And this year we'll close out over 50. So it's been a pretty good run.
I would say so.
Yeah. The motivation, Sarah and I, we struggled. I mean, it's hard working with your spouse, and there's no real resources out there. I mean, it's an empty well. And so, I think we've talked about this for, probably several years preceding that conversation, that you and I had. And it was just like, this is just something people need, they're just not enough, and even being a part of Nexstar and business coaches, they when it gets into relationship stuff and how that meshes, people kind of like, I don't know how to help you there. So, this is not a work-life balance book. I don't care if you go to your kids' soccer games or not. This is real tactical, how you can, and that's everybody's personal choice, and everybody's going to have a different degree of that. But if you interface inside the business, what are some strategies to do this in a way to create some peace and some harmony where you guys are, on the same page?
Right. It's interesting because that I worked with my wife Sosa for close to 3 years here at One SEO before she took some time to go do her own thing. And it's tough. It's tough working with your spouse because you never have the ability to let it go, and you want to find ways to say, hey, how can we do this? Because I trust you so much. And you're I always think of, when I think of Brad, I think mad scientist, Sarah, calming, collective individual that's putting mad scientist in play. When you talk about the tactical aspects of the book, Talk to the audience a little bit about how you kind of laid out the structure and what some of those opportunities that they would want to say, let's get that book, because of how it would impact for them.
Yeah. So first off, if you don't share, you can think you have a similar vision, and it's just so shocking how you think you're going to this destination, but everybody's imagining something a little bit different. So if one party or the other is thinking, I'm going to build it and sell it, it's going to be very different than somebody who's wanting their kids to take it over and run it. You're going to make different decisions, and that's going to create conflict. That's a really big distinction, right? But some people never even have that conversation. But there's little nuances about what my role is going to be in the future. How many hours am I going to work? What's my future look like? And if you don't really get clear on, first of all, what is it that I'm targeting, and then let your spouse do that too, and then communicate, see where we're off, see where we're in alignment, and get clarity on the vision, you just find a lot of harmony comes because you're both targeting the same thing. When you're targeting different things, it's going to be constant conflict, and it requires a little bit of effort, because you have to stop and really process where it is that you're going. And people, unconsciously have these objectives that they haven't really brought to the front of their mind or communicated to their spouse. So that's huge. That's step one. And then I think the next step is, about roles. And this is where it gets really messy, because you have to wear a lot of different hats in a company. But the more the spouses have to both make the same decisions, and there has to be this constant collaboration on, we're going to send out a mailer, and like, how are we going to align the offer, and what should the offer be, and where should I put the logo, and is that blue too blue, or should orange be brighter? Like, you guys are going to lose your mind and lose all the potential synergies of allowing one person to run with this ball and the other person to run with this ball.
If you like this content and you're trying to grow your business, follow me at Lance Bachman and Lance Bachman Digital on Facebook. LFG, time to grow.
Was there any kind of model for that for you, that like when you were starting out and saying, hey, let's build this vision? Because most, as it's, well, most people maybe don't know, but you're a third generation plumber by trade, second generation plumber by trade. And you started out very young with your dad. Okay. And, I would assume if I'm talking to 18-year-old Brad and said, hey, Brad, you're going to be writing a book and your company's going to be doing 50 million, you would have probably kind of laughed back at me and said, you're crazy. And, so you, in business and working with, obviously Sarah came from the nursing industry, which they're very systems generated. I had to believe that brought some impact into how you guys rolled out the business and working it together.
Yeah, it's incredible. So, we're all kind of formed, in our childhood with people that are around us with a certain set of beliefs. And I didn't have any imagination of anything like this, and Sarah came on board. Our careers were conflicting. I had a few employees, and she was, labor and delivery nurse, and if something's going down, she can't come home on the night shift. So then I couldn't go to work because we got these kids. And it's just like, what if we work together on one common thing, put both of our energies towards it? So great concept. Millions of American families have the same conversation and tackle the thing.
Yeah.
And we knew nothing about business. I mean, I knew how to do plumbing really well, and I'm a pretty nice guy. So I had some employees that liked me, and I was losing money more than I was making it. And so Sarah was just such a gift, because she came in and she became a student of business, and she just got mentors and started to learn. And then she saw some companies that were doing some amazing thing. There's this amazing thing called net profit. It's like money after you pay. It's leftover money. I didn't know what net profit was, and I'd owned a business for years.
I bet you do now.
I've got a pretty good idea. So we, she paved the way, because she was smart enough and humble enough to get help. And then I learned that I needed mentors too. And when we both started reaching out and learning and growing to stay ahead of the business, it just became a really amazing experience. And I think, when we were kind of coming off of roles, a big catalyst for growth for us there was utilizing Traction, the EOS system.
Yeah.
We got really, just spending some time on an org chart. And I'm going to tell you, as our company grows and changes over time, we have to I'm constantly rewriting org charts and looking at the future and thinking about what is coming next in our future. What does the future look like, and what is this person responsible for? What am I responsible for? Even right now, because we just sold to a PE firm, we're doing acquisitions, and I'm the CEO of a new world. And it's like, okay, I'm going to have general managers all over the U.S., reporting in some way. I'm also involved with business development. So like I've got to hire a new COO, and this is what his structure is going to look like. We're constantly looking at org structure and who's responsible for what, so I can just focus on the thing that I need to focus on. I promise you, we're rewriting org charts and considering concepts at least once a month in our company.
It was interesting in the book. I noticed where you had the org chart broken down, and you had Brad and Sarah owners, then you had Sarah GM, and then you had Brad marketing and sales, Sarah operation as far as overseeing the kind of things. And what the dynamic shows is that as a couple, you both are interacting where you're that big rock that might be you figuring out how to make the next SEO company happen, or being a TV commercial. You still have responsibilities going in both directions as ownership, as well as being owners. So it's it was kind of interesting for me to be able to see that delineage of where you would be not reporting, but more responsible to each other, as well as it not being one set.
Yeah.
I found that really unique.
It's helpful, and you kind of have to put on a different hat, and so like even today, we've sold to a majority of our company to a PE firm, and I'm a member on the board. So I'm on the board that I report to. It's kind of like a very similar thing, but as a board member, I have to look at it from this perspective. As a CEO, I have to look at it from this perspective, because there's different agendas. The PE firm has a 3 to 5 year objective. As a CEO, I have a 40-year objective, and so it's a different level of thinking, and the PE firm needs to get what they need, and then there'll be another one. But Radiant needs, a lifetime strategy that's beyond the current relationship I have. And it goes all the way down to a small mom and pop. You have to put on a different hat and think about your business in different ways.
So it's interesting. One of the things that I appreciated is how I thought you were pretty vulnerable especially in the opening chapters, before you kind of got into the tactical aspect. And, obviously you brought up, and it's kind of public now, that you've, been involved in a PE firm and being, selected for how great you've done, for them to come in and say, hey, we're going to potentially offer you not some couple dollars, but generational dollars. And, I thought when you talked about the weekend before November 23rd, about kind of going through that weekend as it applies to what you guys were feeling in trying to make this decision, as far as, do we really do this? Do we really not do this? What can we do? And I was wondering if you could talk about that decision to say, because right now, the home services HVAC business could be the hottest private equity money in the country. Like there are people getting 10, 12, 14x on where they are. Can you tell a little bit about that decision-making process for you? I mean, that's obviously a big part of where the book is and where you're going, but I was fascinated by when you had called me and talked to me about that decision, and the path that you took for it.
Yeah, it's huge. I mean, Sarah and I have been nothing short of obsessed about our business ever since we really, got focused on it for the last 15 years. Pure obsession. It's our baby. It's our masterpiece, and it's personal. It matters. And there's so much to consider about your people, and what does this mean to them and to you. All of it. It's huge, but I think what Sarah and I have done really well, I think, is kind of leaned into the unknown. Like, what's the next thing? And even though it's kind of big and scary, kind of sounds exciting, and we've always had enough guts to just take the next step. It would be easy to hold it and keep doing what we're doing. But this was kind of exhilarating. and to get offered the CEO role, for a national company with, this investment backing. And now I'm deep in the decision-making process of who we invest in and who we don't invest in, and just the full concept of, and again, like just talking about the PE firm is really interested in monetizing in a short amount of time. I'm responsible for creating a national brand, not a national brand, that's said wrong, sorry. Yeah, the company's national strategy and who we're going to be. What's the DNA of this company going to be? And this is out of my league, So I'm like,
Well,
super scary. And I've got like, okay, I've got to just step up and become the CEO that I need to be for this thing. Cause I was really good at that. And this is new. And this is a big, exciting adventure for me right now.
one of the things that anybody that has either visited your shop or specifically knows what they see, and been there, and a lot of people are like, hey, let me come and visit Brad and Sarah's place down in Austin. Culture is at the top of, like, yes, the widget is plumbing, heating, and air, but the people are what makes that aspect. And so as you're going into these different acquisition roles, is it a situation where you're looking and saying culture has to be, besides the financials of the particular sweet spot that you're going to be looking at acquiring, how much is culture playing a part? Because it's such an important part of Radiant.
Yeah, oh man, it is everything. You said it. It is literally everything. And to create a place that's fun to work at, that is a fulfilling environment for your employees, you get retention, your recruiting improves, and then you can do some magic once you've got a great culture in place. It's very exciting. So the culture may not be Radiant like, which is okay. We don't expect that. But the leadership team, what's their objectives? What's their driving motivation? And if they have, if they're really self-focused about making money, that's not going to work. If I'm meeting some owners that are really interested in their team and they're worried about post-sale life of their team, what's going to happen to them, and those are kind of the questions that are coming at me, and what kind of opportunities are there for their people. I'm pretty interested in these owners, because I need people that are willing to try things and stretch, because the stuff we do is rocket fuel, and it might be different than we kind of break a lot of the molds in industry. So it's like I need a fairly flexible leadership team that's open to breaking some of the rules and playing the game differently to get the kind of results that we get.
So one of the things that you would look back and say, obviously Radiant has really scaled out. What do you think the success of that scaling has been? Is it what you're doing from a customer service standpoint? Is it from a review standpoint? What are the things that are helping you guys to scale, that the PE company comes in? And then is your goal with the acquisitions that you have to have that same scalable success in that 3 to 5 year period?
Yeah. The main thing is brand building. Most people don't create a brand. Most people do direct response marketing, which doesn't create any connection to the community. So we've been brand building for 15 years, which means one of my new employees, he's my M&A manager. He came down from Philadelphia, and he's wearing a Radiant baseball cap. He had 4 people stop to him to say, "Hey, I loved your commercials," or different positive things about Radiant. "I used you guys. You work for Radiant." And it's because we've done a branding campaign. It's no coupons, there's no deals, there's no specials. People like us and they want to work with us because we've created a relationship with the entire city of Austin. So that has attraction that's just kind of unbelievable. You get nothing out of a branding campaign for years. So people are looking for ROIs, and you're going to get nothing. You say radio doesn't work, or you did sucky ads and it won't work. But if you build a great ad campaign that builds a really great brand, it's a slow burn, and then eventually the momentum picks up, and then it's fire. We turn away so much work, and we can, we've proven we can do about $15 million a year in growth multiple years back to back. That's a pretty healthy pace for my leadership team to do onboarding, park trucks, and get everything going. We could actually grow at a faster pace if we felt like we could manage that, but it's just a lot of human beings to move around. So then you got to have a recruiting machine. You got to have a culture that, is excited about growth and passionate about training people and retaining the great culture. So it's not just any one thing, it's a system of things.
So interesting that you bring up the branding. I'm going to throw 3 commercials at you. Okay. And you tell me which one's your favorite. The wakeboard, the toilet go-karts, or the clogginator.
The hardest one to do was, I think you're talking about surfing with the toilet, on the toilet, right?
Yes.
Yeah. That was absolutely the hardest thing to put together, for sure. I mean, there was drone footage, we had to hire a pro surfer. We had to, have the boat guy. I mean, it was a lot going on. That was a pretty cool project. But Clogginator was a lot of fun. I think my all-time favorite ad, though, is Keith Mercurio was a star in it. And it was a Star Wars ad. I think that was
where he was driving the truck.
Yeah. This spaceship, and Sarah had the Princess Leia muffs and threw them on the ground. That was some good stuff. But and you bear in mind that ad doesn't offer anything, right?
Nothing.
Clogginator doesn't. There's no price. There's no anything. It's just we're just entertaining Austin, and people like it. And so
what was interesting, and I don't know how many people actually picked up or even told or commented to you privately or publicly in the Clogginator, is how the guy coming out on the gurney, it was in a competitor's uniform, which to me was, I love that. Like, it was so
I couldn't do it.
It was so subtle.
Those are all employees. Everybody in our ad is an employee. We shoot all the ads ourselves. That's all in-house. I have a marketing team of 3 people. We pay for nothing. We build it all from scratch. And the employees love being in the ads. The guy on the stretcher was Mark, and he's in our warehouse. Lovely employee. We love working with Mark, and he's been in several ads. He was he was in the condenser in the background in the Star Wars ad, walking out of that ad when Sarah was quitting.
Do you have a lot of employees? Do you have a lot of employees that are saying, "Hey, I want to be in the next commercial"? And then how do you scale that to say, because Radiant has well over 100 people. How do you say who gets to be in the next show?
We just the marketing team handles it. They put a shout out, and we have auditions. So there's some stuff where there's some singing that needed to be done. And it's like, look, sing these lines, send us a video, and we'll consider you. Things like that. So super fun. With Terminator ad was amazing. We decided to do Terminator ad, and I just kind of had this epiphany. It's like, oh my God, what if everybody was Arnold Schwarzenegger? And so we just got and then we had the auditions, and all of them were funny. It's like, you're all in. Some of you aren't very good. Some of you are really good, but you all are in. So everybody had the Arnold Schwarzenegger voice for the Terminator ads. So funny. And everybody just had a lot of fun, but not everybody wanted to do the Arnie voice. So, it just, we just get volunteers and try to get the right people for the right feel.
Obviously, speaking of marketing, I mean, obviously we've been working with you on the digital side, for 3-4 years now. But you have a team member that, and I think all of your team members, but when you think about Odie and the way that she embraces the Radiant brand, and that to find somebody that loves your business as much as you do, that's the greatest thing that any employer could want. And I don't think that there's enough good things that can be said about the way that she handles every single interaction. She's literally like the puppet master pulling the strings behind it, and you never see her.
Yeah, she's awesome. She does a great job, and she brings a ton of passion to what she does, and she's very, very committed to excellence, which is awesome. And here's the thing.
Okay,
this is everybody on this is everybody in Radiant. Like you create a culture. Here's the deal. If you're focused on the people and are passionate about taking care of your human beings, that creates this layer of trust that I want to give all my all to this organization, because they've got their focus in the right place. If you're focused on revenue, nobody, screw you. I'll put in my hours and then you're on your own, but when leadership and ownership is like really focused, like the number one consideration is, what's this effect going to be on our human beings? At every single decision, that's first. And then the customers, how are we going to deliver something excellent second? And profits are an afterthought of doing those first 2 things right. you get that kind of commitment, and that we have our entire leadership is that engaged. Everybody's that engaged, and there's no, they don't watch the clock. There's no limits. They love what we're about because they believe in what we're about. This is about more than plumbing and air conditioning. It's about more than making money. We change people's lives because the job's that good, and it's everybody's working from a place of passion because they believe in what we're about.
And I would assume that's a lot of what you talk about in the book, is that when you structurally lay those things out and put yourself in the alignment for where you have that type of commitment to passion and excellence and communication and transparency and ultimately delivering a result, there's nothing that you can't accomplish. But, you know, you kind of alluded and said, hey, we went from 10 million, we're going to do 50 million prior to the purchase. All great. But, you know, one of the things that people don't know is there's a lot of give back to that. And I believe that there's a lot of water that's going on in Africa right now because of Radiant. Can you talk a little bit about that for a second?
Yeah, it's huge. And so if you're going to create a cult-like following inside of your business, people that love the company, like really love it, you've got to be more about the making money. And so building a great environment for your people is good, but there needs to be an outreach as well, where we're taking care, we're giving back something to the community. It needs to be visible, tangible. Yeah, so we found this great organization called Charity Water, and it works really well for me. There's just, I don't care what you pick something and give back to the community and make it public so your team can feel the pride of being a part of that. And the more you can integrate them in participating, the better. We've done charities where we go do free plumbing, and I see a string of your Radiant trucks going down the road to go do free work for a charity on the weekend. Stuff like that's just powerful. And like, people cry about that, you know, because they really, people want to do something good. So Charity Water works well because it's very, you can understand it. It's not just money into this big bucket that gives water to people that's not tangible. They have water projects that are specific that run around $8,000 to $12,000, and that's a water source for a community, and it's in this town, and it's going to serve 200 people or 800 people or whatever, and it's Radiance, you know. And so like we've got, I don't know, I think we've probably got 10 or a dozen wells that we put in around the world.
That's
and our
incredible.
deal is, yeah, every $5 million revenue we bring in, we buy a well. That's the deal. So this year, when we break 50, it'll be 10 wells just this year alone. So that's the deal. We celebrate that at our company meetings, and everybody's really proud about doing something that makes a difference.
So as you're going down these future plans of acquisitions, will everything stay under the Radiant umbrella, or do you see it being that you might keep that particular brand, XYZ HVAC company as HYZ, you know, HVAC company?
Yeah. No, there'd be rare circumstances where we would do a brand change. There's, you know, if
Too much equity.
anybody's, yeah, that's crazy. Many people have proven that that's a bad concept, to think your brand has power in other communities. So we know that's not real. Now, there's overlap situations where we might, you know, roll up a smaller company into a bigger brand in a town or something along those lines, or you know, any overlapping communities creates a different conversation. But the general strategy, everybody retains their brand.
Is the M&A guy specifically looking at specific regions based upon where you guys have kind of said, or is it a scenario where you are, you know, because your name's very well known in the community of the home services business, you know, is it a situation where you're looking specifically to go into Phoenix or go into Jacksonville or head up into the Philly market, North Carolina?
You know, yes and no. I mean, it's more about the right company, and probably secondarily about the right, because I think we can be successful in most any community. I think our brand is, the way we approach a market is so different than anybody else that I don't have, you know, they're all good markets.
Right.
So it really comes down to the right human beings and the right, you know, business DNA, and then the market, probably a secondary factor. Our M&A guys, integration related is his primary focus. And so like once a deal's done, he's the guy boots on the ground that's managing the project of integration, which is no small project. So that's a pretty exciting role. Yeah.
You talk a lot about in the book as far as metrics and how important metrics are. Can you elaborate on that as when something that you might be responsible for and Sarah's kind of guiding you and you didn't hit those specific metrics? How are those conversations? And because that's all, like, it's always one of the toughest things for any couple to do is, and I think that not having a fear of conflict and having that trust, and kind of what Lencioni talks about in those 5 principles of building a team. It doesn't make a difference whether you're together as a couple or not. The fact is that if you have the ability to have those conversations, that it can ultimately help your business growth. Can you give us a little bit of thought on that?
Yeah, I think, man, there's a lot there. So the real pain and friction comes when you're flying blind. This creates a lot of fear. This creates a lot of anxiety, and then therefore a lot of conflict. Metrics create visibility. And if we know where we're supposed to be landing, if marketing's supposed to do a good job, but we've not defined what that is, I'm not really ever sure if you're doing a good job or not. And I feel like maybe I could do a better job. So there was a time when I was marketing manager, and then Sarah was the marketing manager. And then we realized I was the one talking mostly about marketing, and maybe I should be the manager again, And there was some heated conversations around that. It's like, well, you've got to take this seriously, and you got to deliver. And what does that mean? If you don't know what the target is, then there's just this uncertainty that's in everybody. And nobody wants to fail. Everybody wants to do good. So you got to paint a target on the wall, make sure you're hitting it. And that's, in our business, that is X amount of calls per month. You either got them or you don't. And then when you've got a good target and you've agreed on the target and somebody's missing it, it's actually a less painful conversation when it's around a clear metric. It's not like, I'm not going to defend it. If I missed it, I missed it. Like, now I'm open to collaborate about how to move forward from here. It's like, yeah, it's not working. What do you think? And that's how it's not an angry conversation, because we agreed on the target and it's not working. So let's collaborate on fixing it. It becomes more collaborative. So the metrics are a lifesaver for argument, because it just depressurizes everything when everything's on the table.
Interestingly enough, I had a conversation probably about a year ago with Keith Mercurio. And one of the things that he had said to me, which is interesting, is that a bad one-on-one is better than no one-on-one. Okay. And I know within your organization, everybody has a one-on-one throughout the course. Do you do Sarah's one-on-one, and does Sarah do a one-on-one with you, or who does your one-on-ones? Now it's probably the PE company, but I'm curious to who does your one-on-one.
Yeah, so I do. I have a member on the board, chairman of the board, and I meet weekly. And he's my guide. It really cool dude. And he said, early on in our conversations, he said, I am your Sherpa. That's my role, is to help you be successful to get to where you need to go. And he's just been a brilliant teammate and guide, because he's done a lot of acquisitions and has a lot of experience doing this kind of work. And we, I need a guide, and I'm humble and not smart enough to know that I do not know what I don't know about this world, and I need guidance. And there's just, as we're 9 months, 10 months in, and I'm still understanding what my job is as the CEO of this new thing is huge. So yeah, it's pretty wild.
So outside of obviously choosing one SEO as your digital marketing company, what would you say the best business decision that you can think back and say, this was a really smart, calculated decision? Was it bringing Sarah into the business? Is that the best decision that Radiant has ever made?
Sarah's been the best decision I've ever made every time, actually. That's just a true story. I think, the kind of coming back to the whole couples concept, like if you can trust this person and let them go, and there's a period of time where Sarah said, I don't think you're doing a great job as a CEO, and I said, so you're saying you can do a better job? And she's like, yeah, I think I can. And that was hard. That was a painful moment. And I said, okay, let's, you should do that, and I focused on sales and marketing, and she, in that period of time, she did some amazing stuff, because I wasn't like I wasn't bought in on traction. I still don't know how to use Service Titan today. Do not, I plan on not learning. Like, I can look at the dashboard, and that's just as deep as I go, is like log in and look back. I let other people do that. Don't care, And so we were trying to get everybody up to speed, and I just wasn't the right leader for the time, because I didn't care. I'm so visionary, so focused on, the other things that are awesome, bring a lot of cool stuff to Radiant. But what was needed at that time was a hardcore operator, and that was her. And she drove all that stuff into being. And then there came a period of time where she was like, this isn't working for me. I don't like my life, And it was like, I can see the seam here. I think I should probably be the CEO again. She's like, yeah, I think you should. And we made that switch again, And that's identity stuff that just kind of hurts down to your soul when you make those switches. We've done that multiple times in different roles in the business. And, we both just try to let each other have our own life experience without, grappling with the other person.
It's funny to say that, because, I implicitly trust my wife, both personally and professionally. And one of the things that we've kind of incorporated in our professional life, and I think it's probably talked a little bit about in the book, is that, to your point of when Sarah said to you, I don't think you're doing a good job, the question has to then be asked, is that fact or feeling? Okay. And is there evidence to support that particular statement? And if it is, that's when you can't take it personally. You have to look at what's the betterment for the business, to be able to understand specifically, it wasn't meant to be malicious, because she's your wife and she loves you. But the fact is, what's the best for the business? Sometimes we have to take a look and say, hey, what makes the most sense here? Where's our vision, to the earlier parts of what you talk about in the book, and how does the alignment for the vision put you into play? And, the interesting thing is that this book is written by a guy who's in the HVAC industry. However, I can see how it applied to somebody that's a lawyer that's working with their spouse, how it could apply to a digital marketing agency, how it could apply to a banking industry. It can apply to any particular industry out there, as far as saying, hey, there are couples that start business together, and how do you navigate those waters? So I always like to kind of start most of my calls with this. I'm going to end my calls. We're going to give you the final roar, which we always do, to give your final plug on the book. But I usually start with rapid fire questions that allow the audience to get to know the person that I'm talking to. And we got so right into the book, I didn't get to do it. So I want to end it today with my rapid fire. Okay. Brad is stranded on Naked and Afraid. What does he put into his survival pack that he gets 3 elements to save him?
I get 3 elements to save me on Naked and Afraid. Okay. Let's see. Pants would be nice, but that's not allowed, right?
Right. There's one.
Okay, I'll stick with pants. A knife, and let's see, some way to start fire.
Okay, cool. Bourbon, vodka, or gin? Which one?
Oh, bourbon.
Bourbon.
Oh, bourbon.
No doubt about it. Okay.
Easy.
Shotgun, rifle, or handgun?
Rifle of those 3. Bow would be my choice.
Okay.
Actually.
All right. I like it.
Yeah.
Outside of Sarah, who's your biggest inspiration?
Ooh. I'm going to say Byron Katie, and her book is Loving What Is. And she's, I think, one of the few enlightened souls walking the planet right now that sees the world in a very beautiful way.
Very cool. Well, it's been a pleasure. First and foremost, I always enjoy our conversations. There's a tremendous amount of emotional intelligence that you spawn around the people that you're around. And it's nice to have somebody that is in our space, in our industry, that is thinking in a different manner to allow their business and their people to be successful. And congratulations on the success of the book. You know, I was really happy that you had said yes and coming on board and having a conversation with me about it. So your final roar on the book of why somebody should go out and get the survival guide to working with your spouse.
Yeah, I'd say if you work with your spouse, I've given you some of the juiciest stuff, no holds barred, that has really worked for us. And I think we've felt all the pain one can feel. We've experienced it and we found ways through. And I dug deep into my soul about what was true and honest of a way out, and very short book. It's very consumable, but it just throws punches about how to approach this and how to solve these problems. So it's easy to consume. And this is the magic that helped us work really closely together and really enjoy working together successfully. So it's like, it's not just about work-life balance and going on dates like that. That conversation doesn't come up there. It's about how to work together in a way that's fun and fulfilling and productive. You're going to be successful if you apply these tools.
I got mine on Amazon. Where else can you get it?
It's just on Amazon right now. It's the best place.
Okay.
It's yeah, click it, buy it. Love it if you leave a review. That helps to get traction so more people can get the help they need. So I'm not making a living off of this book, but I really know that it's going to help a lot of people. So the more it gets out there,
Is there an Audible edition?
It's coming. I'm going to do the voiceover. Sarah said that she would participate in the reading, so it could be really fun.
All right.
I want to do some kind of off-script Audible stuff, but we're going to start recording that soon.
Well, listen, we thank you for being on The Den today. And as always, it's a pleasure. Congratulations on your success. Nothing more that can be said about how you've grown and the people that you've taken along the way. And we're lucky to be a part of it.
Well, thank you. And I appreciate all the great work you do for us and giving me this space to talk.